I'm going to show printing a very light color first. I'm going to do this quinacridone red. I've put some in my palette. First I'm going to use a rag. This is just a piece of old t-shirt. Dip it in the water and wet the block on both sides to help keep the plywood from warping. Let the water soak in a little bit. If the block is very dry, it may soak in and you'll want to apply a little more. The amount of water on the block, you'll want not shiny puddles, but not dull, dry areas. Just sort of a satiny sheen is what you'll be going for. And to get a really light color, take a little bit of color and mix it with some water in a separate dish to dilute it, and then dab that onto the surface. Dabbing it on with the watercolor brush and spreading it around with the printing brush. Now you can use the small printing brush the same way I use the big one, or the stencil brush the same way as you use the small one. I just find this easier to use the large one for a large area, but if you don't have it, you can still do it. I have my paper sitting and damp, wrapped in plastic here. It has a rough side and a smooth side. I'm laying the smooth side down. Now I have my tools kind of close to my block. I ordinarily would have them further away for printing, but for this video I have everything close together so it all shows up. This kitchen parchment is allowing the baren to glide smoothly over the block. I'm pressing evenly throughout. And here I have a pale pink color. Now I'm going to print a more concentrated, darker reddish pink color, making sure that my block is wet at the beginning of each printing. But because the color is darker, I want to make sure that there's not any excess water, because if there's too much water, it would dilute it. So I have a drier rag here. Too much water will dilute the color and it will just be lighter than I want. So I still have some water to mix with the gouache right out of the tube, but not as much, and I'm mixing in more of the gouache straight out of the tube. I'm dabbing that over the surface. But you don't spread with the watercolor brush, you spread with the printing brush. I'm printing without paste, so pay attention to how this looks printing without paste. Smooth side down. Parchment paper, baren. The hand that is not holding the baren I'm using to hold the table, because the table is wiggling from the pressure here. I can always peek at a corner to see if it's printed enough. See this blotchy effect? That's because I did not use paste. Now I'm going to try and print the darkest red I can possibly get. So I'm going to use some gouache straight out of the tube and the least water possible. This is tricky to get the darkest color possible, especially if you're going for a very dark black, because you have to work quickly before it dries because it still needs to be wet in order to print, or else you'll get little kind of dull spots on your print. And I am spreading this just to make sure that I have enough, because you want quite a bit of color if you're going for a very saturated dark color. But still going to even it out with the printing brush. And again, looking for no puddles of wetness, no dull dry spots. I'm kind of tipping it in the light to see that it's all sort of evenly satiny. Getting my paper out from under the plastic, checking for the smooth side, laying the smooth side down, and printing. With this much ink, it's starting to go through the thin paper onto my parchment, so next time I'll use a different area of the parchment. So there is a very strong saturated color, but printed without paste, so you still see that blotchy effect.